Hello, and welcome to the Venue Coach Blueprint for Owners. I'm Kyle Labar. This podcast is all about helping you fill your wedding venue with more bookings, earn more from each one, and keep your customers happy for a long time. We'll also talk about some tough times and big lessons that I've learned along the way. Let's dive in together and make your venue the best spot for weddings. Okay, so she realizes that she's got a tour, and then what happens?
So, super nonchalant. Hey, how's it going? Very hospitable, but we could tell that she dropped the ball. Somebody dropped the ball.
And so did you guys have a moment, you and your wife, where you maybe you exchanged some glances or something?
Of course, immediately, it happens. People drop the ball, but there were things not ready for viewing.
Like what?
Specifically, the marriage area.
The ceremony.
The ceremony area was not ready at all.
What does that mean?
They were doing renovations while we were viewing.
Okay. When did you go?
What do you mean?
Like what day of the week?
We went a Saturday.
On a Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're doing renovations?
Correct.
What month did you go?
We went in January.
In January. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got to give a little grace there.
Of course.
Because Januaries are usually slow months.
Of course.
And if I'm going to do major renovations, it's going to be in the slow month.
Right.
And if it's going to take a couple of days, it might just be caught on a Saturday.
Of course.
So that gives you perspective, but that obviously doesn't help them.
Right.
4 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever.
Right. But from the perspective,
but they already got set up on the bad impression.
Yes.
And so now you're like, oh, and now this isn't ready.
Correct.
Okay, so talk more about that.
So from the experience of somebody that's going in to get married, right? Like, for me specifically, I'm more worried about the monetary value.
Of course.
And my wife is about the experience. And she had a hard time envisioning the experience without seeing the renovation complete.
Okay, that makes sense. And now would that have been a deal breaker for you guys?
Not necessarily, but the compounding.
There's just one more thing.
Right.
Okay.
So that left a bad taste.
Sure. Okay. Was there anything else?
Beyond that, very hospitable. I wouldn't say that it was negative, but I would say that, no gift baskets, no water during the tour, etc.
Okay, so it just didn't stand out.
Right.
Okay, so then you go, you and I already know the end of the story.
Yes.
That you booked the second one.
Correct.
But I want to hear about the third one first, before we talk about the good one.
Of course.
Okay, so tell me about the third one.
So
and they're the ones that took 24 hours.
Yes.
Okay, they took 24 hours.
So the third venue took 24 hours to respond. Yeah, and, we booked in order because we knew what we wanted. But the third venue failed to even show up.
What do you mean?
So we get to the venue, and we're ready to go. They have gates, private area. Gates are shut. And me and my wife waited there for 30 minutes.
And you didn't just turn around and leave?
We should have in hindsight.
You should have, yeah.
However, we wanted to give every opportunity, to our top three just to see it. And she was late. Yes.
So you sat at the gate.
Yep.
You made the calls.
Yes.
And then what did she say?
Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm late. There was a malfunction, a malcoup, whatever.
Mea culpa.
Yes, correct. But let me show you now, and I promise you this will not be our experience. Let me show you how I can make your day the best day ever.
Okay, so trying to save the day.
Yes. Yeah.
Trying to undo the blunder.
Correct. And, she did try her very best. Like this, imagine what your day will be, etc. But that initial snafu.
Yeah.
No. And that pretty much sealed the deal. So in hindsight, we should have left.
Right.
Because we already knew at that point.
I heard actually a tour that I did. The couple comes in, and they had just been at another venue, and similarly, the person who was supposed to be giving the tour wasn't there, and they their friend was actually getting ready for their wedding, oddly enough, at the same day.
Right.
And so, but the manager wasn't there, and so the friend let them in and said, yeah, a tour.
Check it out.
Give yourself a tour.
Right.
So she gave herself a tour. Could you imagine that?
No. Mm-mm.
And so I just talked with her when she told me that. I was like, what does that say about how they're going to show up on your day?
Right.
Right?
Of course.
And so, I mean, but
yes.
You're saying the same thing.
Correct.
In a completely different state, under completely different circumstances.
Yes.
Not even like years ago, right?
Yes.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
And yet it's the same thing.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
How you show up in every step of the way shows how you're going to show up on the one day that matters. Because it's not just the wedding day that matters. It's every day leading up to that.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
And so they can't even be bothered to show up on time for the tour. To win your business.
That's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't even be bothered to show up on time to win your business. How are they going to show up once they've already got your business?
Right. And I will give them a little credit. You know, as soon as we walked in, very apologetic, very professional. And she said all the right things. You know, even got the water mid-tour. However, it still did not make up for that initial sting.
I don't know if I would have waited 30 minutes. That's just me.
We did, and to give credit to my wife, right? She very much wanted to see it. And I will say this too, it was a beautiful venue. Sure. I mean, everything was 100% on point. But would the personnel, everybody they employ, and whoever you contract, you know, through them, their preferred contractors, would they be the people you wanted there?
Right. Are they going to show up?
Yes.
Not questioning everything.
Correct.
Jeez. Okay. Would there have been, I'm curious, would there have been any way that they could have overcome that?
Potentially. I personally, again, the male mindset, I love my wife very much, but if there would have been a slight discounted price, that would have waived it in my mind.
Okay, but would that have convinced your wife?
I think it would not.
Because she cares more about the experience.
The experience and... and that's the big part of it, right? That is so hard to overcome. Monetary is not so hard, but the experience you cannot overcome. So that first impressions being late, that's not good.
Right. So okay. So that would have been very difficult to overcome for your wife.
Correct.
And let me ask you this: who is the final decision maker in this?
I'm not saying it's 50-50 because it's not, right? It's more 80-20. You know,
you have some say.
Yes.
You have some veto power.
Right.
But
the green light rests with the bride.
It's on her, right?
Yes.
So ultimately, you might have been swayed if they'd offered a discount.
Yes.
But then you would have had to be very confident in fighting for them.
Correct. And if anything had happened, it would have
now it'd be on you.
Correct.
Now it's on you.
Yes. So like you said, the veto power rests with both. But the green light is primarily the bride.
Yep. So, yeah, there was like no chance on that one. So
their
fate was sealed.
Correct.
And how hard is it to just show up on time? Just on time.
I would say that's the least of these. If your venue is perfect and immaculate and you do all the right things, you know, at the right price point, showing up on time is the least of these.
Right. Like, that should be the easiest thing to do.
Right.
Now, what if, let me give you a scenario. What if you had shown up 20 minutes early and she wasn't there?
That would have been a different story.
Right.
Yes.
Because now you're early.
Right.
Makes more sense.
30 minutes turns into 50 minutes. That is a drive-away situation.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay, so had you guys been early, because, you know, sometimes couples drive from afar. We've had people come from San Antonio. That's a 5.5 hour drive. And so they show up early because traffic just moves.
Right.
And so, you know, there's some understanding there if they show up early. Hey, and most people are great about, hey, we're going to be early.
Of course.
Okay, but not being there at the time, and then the first one not knowing, like, she was there but she wasn't there,
right?
So she didn't even know that she had it, so she's not prepared. And then the one who did know clearly didn't know well enough because she wasn't prepared.
Yes.
So they're not prepared.
Right. And that seems to be a trend from what we experienced. We found our top 3 with the best reviews, but not knowing, information not being relayed, leads to customer dissatisfaction, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you were dissatisfied.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about the winner. What happened with them?
The winner. Okay, so I can go into detail on this. It's the one we bought and the one we. So the winner, we booked, again, in the middle, 8-hour response.
Okay. Slow, but okay.
Right. It's still slow, but they responded. And as soon as we showed up, again, a gated-in private facility, and as soon as we drove up, the person that was going to give us our tour was waiting out there. No car, just waiting for us. Mm-hmm. Mm. And when we got out there, we're like, oh my gosh, hello, how are you? But she was very professional, very to the point. Hey, I'm going to let you in. You go ahead and drive in, look at the facility, take your time, and I'll meet you at the barn, basically, which was the indoor area. Mm. So me and my wife had time to think about things as we're driving by, the view, the beauty, or other thoughts. So I want to say we had at least 3 to 4 minutes to talk amongst each other about our introduction.
Nice. So what did you guys talk about?
We were stunned that she was standing out there ready to go. The view was exactly what we were looking for the outdoor venue, which we really wanted. But we still knew we had the option for the indoor, which is what we pulled up to view first.
Okay, got it. So then she shows up, and what happens?
So she shows up. Hi guys, do you need refreshment? I have water in the refrigerator ready to go. And of course we said yes. So she got us some water, and at that point we knew that the service level had been raised from the others.
Mm-hmm. So now keep in mind you hadn't seen the third one yet, because we're out of order here.
Right.
And so now this level of service is kind of raising the bar.
Yeah, especially from the first one. The first one, not even knowing that they had a booking to view, at that point, raised the bar, which, of course, seeing the third one, we already knew where it should be.
Right. Yeah, so now you have an expectation.
Right.
And that made it worse.
Correct.
Or did I miss that?
No, you are correct. And we did wait because we wanted to make sure, because we already had a very good feeling about the second.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then you're just wanting a logical reason of why you should have the second.
Correct.
Because you want the third one to...
Yeah.
Like now it's just, is the third one all that in a bag of chips?
Right.
Or is it just more of the same?
Yeah, snafu in our perspective, snafus happen, so we wanted to be sure on the third one that, okay, this isn't for us. The second one, and it blew our socks off.
Okay, so what else about the tour blew your socks off?
On the second tour, the one we booked, blew our socks off because she very much took her time and let us explore as she was guiding us.
Okay.
So it wasn't rushed. Some venues have like 30-minute block, hour blocks. She had an open schedule for us to be sure this was the location.
Mm-hmm. So no set time.
Correct.
Interesting. Stay tuned for the third and final part to this story.